pouring dark. Back from the dead is a miracle, doc. They counted me out. Moment of truth, counting it down. Underdog story was down for the count. Back on my feet, back with a mic, back on the beat, back with a family that bang in the streets. The game on lock, I stand with a key. Standing my ground, I am planning to flee. Standing my ground, I am planting my feet. Taking a stand, embracing my destiny, shaking his hand, flipping the script.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the original Sunday night CrossFit Talk. My name's Scott. She's Carolyne, and she's Jamie down there on the end. I got some DMs this week from people saying, I love your interviews, but I never know when you're going live. Carolyne, how can they know when we're going live? You tell them every week. What do they got to do?
Well, you've been going on Instagram and doing some live, and they need to, first of all, they need to subscribe. They need to push that little notifier. And then when they watch the episode, or if they don't even watch the episode, you're going to like it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, subscribe, and hit the notifier. The notifier is the key, the little bell. It tells you when we go live, so you can jump on and catch all those interviews we did last week with James Sprague, Alex Gazan, Elisa Fuliano, and you can catch those live. They all were awesome this week. They were just more than me, it was them. They just were awesome to talk to and very open and honest about a lot of things. And I appreciate them for coming on and doing that. That was incredible. So, anything going on big this weekend for you guys?
Oh, just got out and golfed for Father's Day.
9 holes or 18 or
18.
How long does that take you? About 4 hours?
I actually thought it was quick. Like, it was really busy. And we had Lucas with us, and he doesn't golf very often at all. So, but I mean, I think we were only like 4 hours and 20 minutes with a pretty long stop at the turn. So I would say we were 2 hours or less per 9.
I went home this weekend and saw my nephew and niece. One of my nephew is in Edmonton right now with my sister and her husband. They went to the Oilers game. They were on TV. Actually, they were getting interviewed. That was cute. He's like my one nephew that has special needs, and he's like has his wheelchair all decorated. It's really cool. So I didn't get to see him this time around, but I got to see 2 of my nephews and my niece, and then my family. And today we had lunch for Father's Day. So then I drove back home, and on the way home, I took a pit stop to see my older sister and her dog for like a quick 30 minutes before she was going to the gym. And now I'm home. So good weekend.
Damien subscribed, liked, and membership.
Nice.
Yeah, you can support the show by membership too. We don't even throw that in very often, but as little as $2.99 a month, you can support the show. Gives a little cash to be able to go to different events and do some things. So if you'd like to do that, hit that join button as well. So thank you very much. Yeah, I went to Indianapolis this weekend with my mom. Went to the U.S. Olympic swimming trials and got like an appetizer of it all. It actually goes on for 8 days. We just went to the first day. Well, what was cool is we got to see the finals of the 400 freestyle for both men and women. And that was my event in high school and in college. And so it was fun to watch that because I could like compare times and see how much better they are than I was back then. But it was in the football stadium to have a swimming pool. And like you walk in and it smells, it has that like swimming pool humidity. It had the swimming pool feel to it all, even in a football stadium. And it was a rock show. They did such a cool job with the athletes at the finals. They had a 70-foot tall screen where as each athlete came out, they walked out underneath this 70-foot screen. And then there was a big picture of them in a pre-production pose coming out as they announced each lane. They had lasers and lights and all kinds of stuff for the thing. It was really cool. And to get to see Katie Ledecky make it to her 4th Olympic Games was super awesome. She's a legend, Hall of Famer, and was super fun to see that. And then we got surprised with the semifinals of the women's 100 fly, where Gretchen Walsh broke the world record in the 100 fly.
In the semifinal.
In the semifinal.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was insane. Goosebumps when she did it. Like we were screaming. The whole crowd's going nuts. There were over 20,000 people there to watch this.
Is it dome? Is it a dome? Like it's closed, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
They have a retractable roof, but they did not open that. So, but yeah, it broke the record for biggest swimming event ever, with over 20,000 fans.
Wow.
And it was insane. So yes, the times were so fast, and the swimmers were talking about it, that they couldn't lay up for the semis. They had to go like all out just to make it to the next round. And just a hint, in the men's semis for the 100-meter breaststroke, there were 10 times within 52 100ths of a second of each other. And they only took the top 8.
Oh man.
So that's how insane it was. 52 100ths of a second.
That's crazy.
But the one thing I do want to kind of compare to CrossFit. What I love about swimming and watching it is you get to see the whole race.
We were watching it after golf, and I was like, man, if CrossFit could just take a tiny bit of this, like the lanes with their names across it, I was like, there's like 10 lanes, and you can see what's happening in all 10 lanes.
Yeah, it's mostly side view.
Yeah.
So you can see who's ahead and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's over, then they cut to like the highlight reels of individual people or things, so you can see more about it. And I wish that CrossFit would take a note from that.
Yeah.
Especially on sprint events. Let us see the whole thing. When it's done, then show us the close-up shots of the person winning or whatever. And I love what Lex is saying.
Lex got a really good view of what a normal person looks like in the water when she was on the paddleboard last year at NorCal Classic and watching me swim.
Kenneth Delap says that's probably the $40,000 stream. CrossFit can barely afford the $20,000. It would be cheaper to have the side camera than all the cameras on the floor.
That's what I like. I'd rather they get rid of those people on the floor. Like, they don't pick the good shots. Just put the stationary camera, take the manpower out of it, and I think you'd have happier fans.
Now, what's cool about the camera on the sideline for the pool is it's on a track, and it runs with the swimmers down the track, and then it comes back. So it just moves so it's not stationary. It's pretty freaking. That probably is $40,000. Sarah Cooper says, I'm more of a lazy river margarita and hand type swimmer. What was also insane is how many like swim clubs were there. Like full swim teams were all in there, decked out in their like shirts and stuff. But because swimming is a lot like CrossFit on the female side, there are 14, 15, 16-year-olds competing. And when they'd announce like the school they were with, there were some that were like the like the Sheboygan YMCA, and the instead of like University of Maryland or USC, they had those too. But then it was like, Pittsburgh downtown YMCA or this swim club, and then the kid who won the 400-meter freestyle for the men was an Indianapolis hometown kid, and that was insane. So, Dan Church says, I feel there was an uproar with a stationary camera with the Masters. Too soon? There's a stationary camera and there's a side angle camera. We're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
So, but if you ever get a chance to go to one of these things, it's really fun. We had a blast. My only regret is we should have bought 2 or 3 days of tickets, because it was like the appetizer to the week. And it would have been cool to like stay for a couple days, and kind of take in some more of the events.
How did your mom like it?
My mom could not have been happier. She was ecstatic for the whole thing. She is an Olympic nut. Like When August comes, she will be in front of her TV for 2 weeks straight. And she'll watch all the trials too. Like, that's what she'll do for the next 2 weeks. She said the same thing. Wish we would have stayed. She goes, I would have taken my whole vacation budget for the year to stay a couple more days and do this. And it was really great. So glad we did that. So let's jump into some CrossFit stuff. Let's start with Josh Woolley, is the head coach of Mammoth, and that is the coach of Jack Farlow, Emma Lawson, and Erica Folo. And he was doing kind of like a debrief while driving his car about how semifinals went. And in that debrief, made the statement that that there was a point in time this season where they weren't sure whether Emma was going to compete or not. And they had to really work on her mental health to get her back in the game and back into competing. And so I wanted to talk about that because I talked about that with Alex Kazan last week, and she had a great response. And I can go ahead and play that, and then we can talk about it. So I'm going to pull up Instagram really quick. And sure I am. Stop, pause. There we go. And share screen. Here we go. And she's muted.
Spectator, especially I watched the CrossFit Games a couple years before I made it. Like, I was there, and I didn't follow like a training regimen. I just kind of like did what I wanted. It's really easy to like glamorize the life of a CrossFit athlete, and I was really guilty of it as well. Like, you just see Instagram, you're like, wow, like that's like the most perfect life. Like, you get paid to train and like work out and compete, and all eyes are on you. Like, but like I feel like for me, like this last year, like once you get to a certain level, you're no longer, it doesn't quite feel like you're climbing this mountain. It feels like other people are trying to drag you off the mountain. And I'm not even like the fittest on earth. Like, I'm fifth and I feel that way.
So thoughts?
Well, I see Aaron said here, seems like something is up with Jack and Emma. And I feel like a lot of us have seen those kind of comments. And I am curious if there is something to do with that. Nobody's really spoken on it other than just now hearing about this from her coach, that she, trying to get her mental state in there. I don't think we have a reasoning behind that. If it's a pressure thing, if it's a Jack and Emma thing, I mean, it's purely speculation at this point. We've talked about in the past that Emma seemed the most level-headed when we talked about all the younger girls going through this. So it is surprising to hear that she was in this state of mind and considering not competing. Yeah, I'd be very curious as to what exactly led up to that.
I think the easy thing to say is Jack and Emma, but this is happening with not just them. It's happened with Haley Adams and Mal O'Brien. And like, the list keeps growing and growing. So it may not be that simple. And we just heard from Alex talking about there's a point where it changes for you. And with this conversation went on to like, you have to, because you can't make money just training. You have to make money as an influencer, and there's pressures with that. And you have to be on the internet, and it subjects you to a lot of things.
Yeah, because like, I mean, their salary. I mean, a lot of those top athletes, like their salary is dependent on their performance, which is already something that's like puts a lot of pressure on you just to have to perform so that you have that extra income. And then for athletes like Emma that do have, those top sponsorship dollars and stuff, like they have some obligations to post things, which is why I think sometimes like having a good agent, which she does with Snorri, and they kind of let, guide them in terms of the social media posting, and sometimes someone might just need someone else to take that off their plate for them so that they don't have to be on social media as much. It seems like she still has some sort of balance. Like she was able to like do certain things, maybe go for hikes and stuff with Jack, and goes to prom and stuff like that. But I still think it's a tough sport. Like it's an individual sport. You're oftentimes by yourself, whether she's at home doing her workouts. It's just a long and hard life, like training all day and missing a lot of things. Like even though she could be attending certain things, like it still is just very hard mentally to do that almost all year round. So I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. Like people can show that they're level-headed all they want on social media, but we're all going through things, and it is tough. Like, so hopefully she can, find the right support and, continue to compete. But if she doesn't, like it's not the end of the world. Like there's other things that they can do. So.
Yeah, it's so tough. And it seems like once you get past a certain age, then I don't know if it's easier to handle. I mean, you've done this for a couple of years now, Carolyne. There's pressures with it, I'm sure, even at your age.
But I feel like my pressure is different because I have a full-time job. And like at the end of the day, like I didn't qualify this year. I didn't qualify last year. It's like, okay, I go back to school as a teacher, not in school. I go back to work, and yeah, it sucks. It stings. It's frustrating, especially that first week back. Like you're just seeing a lot of posts of stuff and you're just kind of trying to ignore it. But it's like, for me, life goes on, and I have another source of income with teaching, and having that balance there is huge for me. Like it makes me want to play sports again, just doing other things. Like I miss being an athlete. Like I miss playing sports. Like I want to play soccer again. I want to go and not be scared to be injured for my sport of CrossFit. Like it opens up other doors where I think that other people can have a balanced life. So I don't know if I can consider myself in the same position, even though like I'm older, just because I have something else in my life. Like it just helps in times where, you do get that pressure, you feel that pressure, you are sad. You're like, okay, you're busy doing something else that's not related to CrossFit. And it just kind of fulfills your day in a different way. And I think a lot of these athletes don't have that. They don't have that other outlet. That's a completely different thing than CrossFit, where if you take CrossFit away, are they okay? For me, like if I'm not competing in this, like if I'm not qualifying, like I still love CrossFit and training and the community of people that I have at my affiliate of CrossFit Coliseum. Like I love my people there. Whether I'm training for a competition or I'm just training, I'm still going to continue to do CrossFit, and that's not going to change. Where a lot of people train alone at their gym, at their house, right? So they don't have that community of people as much, where it doesn't even matter what place you are, like you finish. Like I went to Sarnia this weekend, and that's my home, where my parents live. And like the amount of members that followed me at semifinals, and they didn't care I finished in the 20th, something like that. Like they were so excited for me. And like, that's why you go to an affiliate. That's why you stay in that affiliate, and you make connections with members and all around the world. Like that's another type of balance that you can have with the sport.
Yeah, it's a couple things here. Lex said, I think it's different for a 30-year-old than it is a 20-year-old. And it's probably because you have different perspectives in life at that point. The other thing that Alex said is that being an athlete has put such a strain on her relationship with Jake.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
They have one day off and she's tired. Like,
yeah. I think fortunately, like having the masters and whatnot and it's obviously easier to make the masters. But if there wasn't, I think you might see, it surprises me honestly that like people like Ariel and Kara are able to keep doing this, because I find that I am, like Alex said, it's a very selfish sport. I am extremely selfish, and I don't think I could keep doing this if I was in their shoes and wasn't making money. Well, they're making money. So where Alex went, Alex kind of lost me in that a little bit. But like I couldn't, if I was like 26 and just had Lucas, I don't know that I could do this without having a monetary income from it, because that selfishness doesn't make sense at that point. And like Alex is able to do it because she's monetarily gaining from it. Like that's why she's able to sacrifice and have one day with Jake. It sometimes surprises me how selfish I am with my time. Like there are times that I don't want to go, like Alex said, don't want to go out and do a hike. Don't even want to go golfing 18 holes. Like my back hurts and I don't even want to play golf with my mom on Tuesday nights. Like there's things that like, I don't want to go to my cousin's bachelorette party. Like I should be able to enjoy these things. And I don't always want to, because I'm tired.
I agree. I think that's a lot of it. But you have enough life experience to kind of like push through that at times, where I think when you're 19, 18, even 20, those are all new kinds of things for you.
And it's like the new followers, the new sponsorships, the new swag. That's just like the popularity. Like there's just like other types of things that get different. Yeah, it's different.
Before everybody goes off in wild stories, the crutches behind Jamie are her husband's from a surgery he had 6 months ago.
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah, I think it was right around Christmas. Yeah, they're the house crutches.
Jamie does not have any need for the crutches at this moment.
If you didn't have the Masters division to compete, would you train less and then do other things?
Probably. I don't even know what would I be aiming for?
Because like for me, I need to, like, I love competing. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me like, okay, like it's like, you don't qualify for Summies. It's like, hey, what's the next thing that, I'm kind of training for so I don't get so lazy? Like I like compete. I would probably find, like something like a high rocks. I'm not a great runner distance. I'd find a sport like pick up whatever, volleyball, beach volleyball league, a summer softball league, find any type of sport to play. Like I'd want to find something that I can still stay active and play and have fun. Like if there wasn't like CrossFit competitions, like for like older people, I'd probably train less and just find other sports. Like I just like competing. I like playing sports.
Oh, I do too.
But I probably would train less.
Yeah, and Aaron and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. If CrossFit hadn't got so big and people did take things like kind of like how like Scott Panchik has said, like he's backed way off and he just does class and he feels a whole lot better. Like, can you imagine if you didn't dive headfirst into this and try to spend 3-4 hours a day training yourself into where you're sore every single day and nothing ever feels good? Like we would probably feel like pretty great humans and be really fit, and we don't really even know what we're missing at this point because we're training ourselves into the ground for God knows what.
For life.
I feel like I've ripped a Band-Aid off. I just think it's an interesting topic because we're at a point where if the sport doesn't grow, like the money to support these kids are not going to be there to do this, right?
Yeah.
And this is only going to grow in different directions. The last thing I'm going to say is I asked Alex this question. If you could make money by doing competitions like these, like doing your quarterfinals live on air, or beat Taylor, or some of these other things like reps ahead, things like that. Would you rather do that than do the postings for Reebok and so and so? And she said, absolutely. And so I do think there's pressures with the sponsorship type model that the athletes are making their money through. And it's a shame that people can make more money doing their quarterfinals live in a group than they can by winning a semifinal.
Yeah.
Or top 5 in the Open.
Yeah. I mean, top 5 in the Open makes more money than winning a semifinal. There's a lot of things out of whack that we got to figure out. But anyway.
But I think the mental part of it is just always going to be there. That's in every sport. And it's getting harder and harder, I think, with the newer generation and the amount of social media that's out there. And like, we never had as much pressure through like the social media part when we were younger, because we could just compete and we would show up and you would hear about certain athletes in the papers and stuff. But it's just a completely different athletic world now. Like, you have to sell yourself as an athlete continuously to try to get sponsorships so that you can be a full-time athlete and not have to have a secondary income. Because, at the end of the day, like, you want to be a full-time athlete. Like, it's much easier, I guess, for your sport. But it just comes with the territory of being a full-time athlete. You have to be a full-time promoter of yourself. So it's how can you distinguish yourself from the other athlete? Are you going to be someone else online so that you can get these sponsorships versus, actually just being your authentic self and not selling products that you don't care about. So, it just, who do you want to be as a Instagram person or influencer? And because some people make it more there than obviously their sporting career.
Yeah.
So your comment brought up a question that I have, and that is, in a lot of sports, we say that the way Patrick Mahomes becomes Patrick Mahomes is because he is tough mentally. And like, he can throw an interception and the next play doesn't care and just goes out and throws like he did before, right?
Goldfish.
Are we making light of a situation that's just sports? Like, every athlete has these points where they have to overcome or they're going to lose.
I think this goes back in line with a lot of people lately pushing for more like sanctionals back type. Like, Patrick Mahomes has multiple opportunities in one game to mess up and recover. You literally, like, somebody commented here about Annika, like, her year is over essentially. It, like, you have one shot and that's it. And you have to wait a whole another year to try again. And that is hard. I think where, when you broached that question with Alex, like, of course we would want like 5 separate competitions that we could just, whether, like, if the Open was its own competition and semifinals its own competition, and I mean, in Wadapalooza is kinda, and Rogue is, like, but if those like all mattered and could, you got, like, it just can't all come down to the CrossFit Games. I think that's what is so stressful for people.
But I think that's what these other competitions are doing. Like, some athletes, like, I don't know what podcast it was, but it was like, someone like Lazar, and even like, I feel like Freyova, like, they just do competitions all the time. And it's like, if you can just go to all of these like European competitions and get $5,000 this weekend, get a 10,000 this weekend, and like, the outside of the CrossFit Games season has a way higher earning opportunity for most of the athletes. Like, only a handful of athletes at the games are really making significant money. Other than that, you may as well go on all of these out of season competitions and make way more money than the CrossFit Games season. And I think you're going to start seeing athletes do that. Like, where it's just like, okay, you don't make it out of semifinals. Okay, I'm going to try to go to Rogue, Wadapalooza, Madrid, Crash, like all of these, like, major, Dubai, and then kind of like the ones are underneath NorCal Classic, and try to make way more money that way. Because a 10th place at the games, like you're getting that in a local competition.
What does it say about someone like Annika, who has faced all of these, like 1 point out, 3 points out,
Losing her
they
spot.
they cancel the teen games the year she qualifies. It just, for not getting her thing to upload, like all of these obstacles she's faced, and she's still here battling. You know what I mean? Then you have like the people who are successful and they hit adversity, and then they get into these things where we got to take a year off. I think it says a lot about Annika as a person and what she can handle and how tough she is.
Yeah, to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's just a side note for me. But I think we beat that one to death. I think it's just interesting and something that we'll have to watch over the next year. But I want to move on to the Service Cup that went on last week.
I'll be at that one as well.
There's
You
a
going
lot of
to
people
NorCal
announcing they're
again?
going. I heard it was a blast of a competition.
It was good, minus the swim for me, but yeah. The venue was great. They're changing venues this year, but it just had like a cool summer feeling, outdoor. People have their tents up. Like it just was a great community event. Well ran, everything was on time. Yeah, they put on great. They paid us right away there. Like it was great.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of those. Crash. Have you seen the lineup for Metcon Rush? Essentially, everybody who just missed the games is going to Metcon Rush.
Yeah, they had asked me, but I don't want to. There's too many things going on. I'm gonna enjoy a little bit more of my summer.
Yeah, I could not believe the lineup they have.
Looks like it's gonna be a great comp, though.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get out there for that. I know Thick Boy is going to be there, and going to try to do some interviews live at his booth at Metcon Rush. So we'll try to do that. But something else that was going on this week is the Service Cup, which you just finished up. We talked about it a little bit last week. You had done half of the workouts.
Yeah, I had done 2 out of the 3. I finished up Daniel, which was the 50 pull-ups, the run with the thrusters, kind of like a pyramid out and back. This week at school, I did it Tuesday, just before lunchtime, and it was. I mean, it was a good workout. I hadn't done that one before. It was just annoying to grab my phone after all the runs, go to the screen, come back to like magnetize it where it was, make sure everything is in frame for the next movement. But it was fun. It was good. Like I have my level 2, and I have to renew mine before September, end of September. So you could win a level 1 or a level 2, and then if you have your level 2, you could also get 3 courses online for free. I'm still debating whether I want to do my level 3. So I figured, 1, I've always participated in like the occupational games and everything. And then may as well do this one, try to be the fittest teacher. Didn't know if there was other like higher level teachers, like semifinal athletes that were going to take part in it, but I did it. And hopefully all my videos are good, and then I can get some online courses covered. And my idea too is eventually, let's say I do have my level, like all my courses, and they want to continue doing that, is I'd like to give a scholarship to one of my students eventually, and hopefully use that code and, give that to a student that's looking to go in kinesiology and is really interested in fitness and stuff like that. I think that would be cool. So that's another reason I want to hopefully accumulate these codes.
Is the leaderboard live?
Yeah.
Did you beat Dave?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I ended up winning all 3 of the workouts, which I was happy about, in like all the divisions. So
Nice.
happy about that. Good redemption after my semifinal.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad they brought that back. I think that's important, and glad they're going to do that.
What was unique about this year is in the past, they've put the occupational games either like through the open, or they would run it at the same time as, let's say, the masters age group, and they were the same workouts. So people just kind of signed up for both. This time it was more, it was just Service Cup, a special weekend or week of workouts just for people, in those divisions, which I thought was unique. And a lot of the gyms ended up doing those workouts as well. I know our affiliate did the workouts.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to find the RX Markier story. Was it in a story or?
Yes, it was a story.
But Dave Newman posted a video of explanation. I can't find that one anymore, but
I think it was a story only.
Okay.
He has it on the RX CEO, RX Markier CEO. I just found it.
Oh.
So I'm going to show that because that's our next story. And I haven't listened to this, so we'll just listen to it together live.
Okay, the verdict is in, and the Alex Smith grips are banned from CrossFit. They will not be allowed at the CrossFit Games. No, this is not a joke. After multiple conversations and emails with competition director Adrian Bosman, it has been determined that the Smith grips do not meet the hand protection guidelines as written in the 2024 rulebook. But fear not. If you currently use Alex Smith grips and you are competing at the CrossFit Games in Dallas this August, email info@rxmarkier.com and we will mail you a legal pair of Smith grips with a slight modification. They will be allowed on the competition floor so you can grip it and rip it.
All right. So basically, I saw a thing. They're stitched so thickly that it simulates a dowel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're illegal. But they are illegal. I think it's cool that, just to be clear, RX Markier was our first big sponsor on the show, and they were our sponsor for a couple years. So, they've been very good to us. Dave is a great friend. And I do think it's cool that they are willing to replace these free of charge for anybody because they want them to have something illegal at the CrossFit Games.
Mm-hmm.
So great move on RX Markier's part.
Sure.
Do you guys use anything like that, or you just use the floppy grip?
I have Bear Complex. But most of them, I mean, even if they use the Alex Smith grips, when you flop them, are their hands on that part, or are they just like on like the medium part of the grip?
So I think they're shorter than like the traditional grips.
Okay.
So you can't flop them like the traditional.
But like my thing is like something like the frog grip. In the rule book of the CrossFit Games, they talk about, not adding a grip that's very, I don't know, not sticky, but what is it called? Like getting additional grip, I guess.
Unfair advantage.
Unfair advantage. Like to me, I feel like some of the grips right now are so sticky that that's more of an advantage than the dowel. Almost like
Yeah.
you're literally stuck on the rig. So I'm wondering whether there's going to be some, I don't know, they're going to start looking at some of the different types of grips that are starting to come out there, because I mean, it can make a huge difference whether you're needing to chalk up between movements or between sets, or if you just can glue on the bar.
Yeah.
So what I don't understand,
I think that's more of an advantage than I've never tried the frog grips, but I've heard that they're so sticky, right? So I'm just curious whether they'll start looking into all the materials that are actually being used.
here's what I'm confused with. So I have Element 26 chalkless grips. And they're like a little bit of a rubber coating, and I wouldn't say they're tacky, but you don't need chalk, and it sticks pretty good. Like, but not like so much that I'm going to knock out a bunch of stuff. But anyway, if there's chalk on the bar, they're useless. Like if you get chalk on a chalkless grip, all of a sudden it's not effective at all. It's less than effective.
You saw people at semifinal with a towel now, literally coming, like when they come to the floor, they're coming to wipe the bars now.
So that could be the same for the frog grip.
Yep.
That's why they're
Yeah.
doing it. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't like, at a community gym like that, the bars aren't cleaned after every class,
No.
right? And if there's chalk on the bar, like I might as well not even wear a grip
Yeah.
because it just slides right off.
Yeah.
So Kenneth says, easy fix. CrossFit supplies the gear at the games and you can only use their gear. Then all sponsorship deals are gone. And you've taken away another way for athletes to make money.
And it's
I mean-
so a lot of these companies are like small niche CrossFit companies, like, with the grips, like it's hard to tell them like, oh, you can't have these grips anymore. And
Do you think, I don't know if I totally agree with that. Like, just because everyone's was wearing Noble at the games doesn't mean they don't wear something else every other day in the gym, wherever, like, and that's what their daily videos show, like what they like to wear. So, I mean, I think you could probably get more traction out of your daily training posts with the item that you actually truly want to train with, because you're forced to wear whatever at the games.
see, I don't think we should go back to just like Bruce Ryan, like just like your hands, like the workouts would have to significantly change if we were to not have grips. There would be like no butterflying as much, like you couldn't have high volume gymnastics on the bars. I mean, I get that you get used to it to a certain extent, but you want to see the best athletes be able to continue to finish the weekend and not have, ripped up hands and bloody hands all over, right? So the grip is important for protection. It's just what's the line of protection and just completely unfair, right?
Yeah. You already see bloody hands with grips. It's going to get 10 times worse without. And then it becomes almost a safety issue.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think anyone really is, other than Bruce, is purporting takeaway grips.
Yeah.
Should it be a standard piece of gear? Maybe. It maybe should be something that's provided if they want one level playing field.
But I do want to say, if you're a smaller company like Bear Complex or Element 26 or Frog Grips, you're hoping to get that picture of your athlete at the games in their games gear with that thing on their wrist, hand, waist, whatever. Like that's a money shot for a sponsor. And I think when the everyday use in a gym doesn't have that same effect as seeing them at the games with it on, if you can get it. So there's that. So here's the next update for us. Last week, I made a plea to our audience to, if they wanted us to cover the Masters CrossFit Games with a behind the scenes, to reach out to the organizers. And some of you did, and it was awesome. Thank you so much. I got a text from Joe Linton the following day asking for a meeting. I met with him last Thursday. He is excited to have us come and do that. We just have to make sure that we don't step on toes with other media being brought in to stream the event. So I had to do a write-up for them, sent that off. They're going to talk to the media company and see where it is that we can get approval, where we can't. But I'm optimistic that we're going to get pretty good approval for that and be able to bring you a behind the scenes of the Masters CrossFit Games.
That's awesome. Good job.
So
Thank
super
you for the
excited.
people that, push this, and it's good.
Good job, listeners.
Yeah, there were some, especially one that reached out immediately after the show. And so, yeah, we got an immediate response from Joe the next day.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be awesome. Now it's time for me to talk about something I saw on Barbell Spin this week that I needed to address. So
That's
little riff alert.
I like it.
I respect John Young. I respect Brian Spin so much. I watch their show every week. I'm going to preface this with that. I watch their show every stinking week. They put out a reel talking about Hattie Canyo. I almost mispronounced her name. Hattie Canyo. And it was cut. So I'm going to show you that first. And then we're going to look at the uncut version. So first, here is what they put out on Instagram.
Say Jack Rosema, I think, because I think he had the best showing. Him and Hattie Canyo. But I think Hattie Canyo is a bit of a one-hit wonder. I don't think we're going to see her name again. No offense, Hattie.
How dare you? She's coming on Sevens.
I know, and she's awesome. And I called her to make it. Nobody else called her to make it. Clydesdale did. Austin Hatfield's my best newcomer. And I say best newcomer.
So that was the cut version. So looking at that, I should be thankful that they mentioned me, that I was someone who talked about Hattie Canyo. But let's look at the uncut version real quick.
Him and Hattie Canyo. But I think Hattie Canyo is a bit of a one-hit wonder. I don't think we're going to see her name again. No offense, Hattie.
How dare you? She's coming on Sevens.
I know, and she's awesome. And I called her to make it. Nobody else called her to make it. Patrick Clark, not Patrick Clark. Clydesdale did. But he says everybody.
That's because she was on his show for.
He says Saxon
a zillion
Pancher's going to win
times.
the game, so it's hard to take that seriously. But
I say that everybody's going to make the CrossFit Games. Back when we first had this discussion, Mr. Young, I sent you a clip showing you a screenshot of my Heat 1 app where I was only allowed to pick 8 people to make the CrossFit Games. In that list of 8 people was Hattie Canyo. Mr. Spin, yes, she was on my show 15 times. But why was she on my show 15 times? Because we freaking care about the semifinal athletes, unlike a lot of other people. We interview all these people. We get to know them. We watch them at semifinals. We see who is on the up and coming and who is going to do well moving in season after season. In fact, my co-host sitting down there at the far right said Austin Hatfield was going to make the CrossFit Games 2 years ago at the Orlando semifinals. She has been saying that much longer than John Young, because we see these people and we're out there for every heat and we watch all the semifinalists and we know what's going on. The other thing is, I get sick and tired of this group of people who are in a text string together, and I respect them all. They can have that. That's fine. But you're not the only analyst in the space, and other analysts in the space can be right. We can watch this sport and make educated decisions on what's going on, and we can be right too.
Yeah. Well,
Finally, I never ever said that Saxon Panchek was going to win the CrossFit Games. For the last 2 years, I've had nobody on top of the list to win the male CrossFit Games other than Jeff Adler. And I have been preaching that from the mountaintop. What I said was, Saxon Panchek has been forgotten about. Everybody forgot because of his injury last year that he was a top 5 CrossFit Games athlete in his career. And if he had a good programming and a good season, he could surprise people at the semifinals, which at the beginning of this year's semifinals, I think he did. He showed up in a way that people were shocked because I watched the sport and I can make an educated decision on what's going on. That's my riff.
Clip it.
Man, I was watching that going to bed last Wednesday night, and I sat up in my bed. What the hell did he just say?
I think what's hard is you interview all these people, right? So you're invested in their semifinal performance. So it's hard, like you want them all to do well, right? So I don't know if it's lost in that part, is that you're cheering for all of them because you get to know them on a different level than maybe other analysts. So I don't know if he's more going that route.
But it's one thing to root for them. It's another thing to pick them.
Right. Yeah.
Like I picked 8 people to qualify from the West.
Yep.
One of those 8 people was Hattie Canyo. I didn't pick everybody.
Yep.
I didn't pick Amy Hosking. Love Amy Hosking. One of my favorite people to interview. But I didn't pick her to go to the CrossFit Games. Gabby Spence has been on my show a ton. Love her to death. Didn't pick her to go to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
I mean, I think it just comes down to the fact that it's their in club, and if you aren't in it, you don't get recognition, and they aren't going to recognize us. So they don't care that. I mean, it doesn't like it takes him a second to even remember your name to say that you picked her.
He did recognize me, and that was fine. But then the backhanded thing afterwards,
yeah,
to say, well, he picks everybody to go. No, I do the Heat One app just like you do. I make my 8 picks, my 10 picks, my 11 picks.
And Lex always beats you.
True. But when I make good picks, I deserve a little credit.
For sure. And we even talked about some of the athletes in the East, right? Like that were going to be doing well. Like we talked, like you and I privately, about Chloe, and I was like, no, these are great workouts for her. And,
Yeah.
we know the athletes very well.
You told me a week before these semis, Chloe has a really good chance at making it to the games.
100%. When the workouts came out, I was like, yeah,
And I trusted. And after I interviewed her and I did the research on her, I was like, dang, she does not have any holes. And I said that to you a week before semis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had this talk.
And who made the games? Chloe.
And I've talked about Fola since last year. I've seen her kind of come up. She had a bad last event, but I think just the pressure came to her. But I think her time will come as well. She's a young athlete. If that's what she wants, right? We know what's going on right now with a lot of the younger athletes and the pressure and stuff. But if that's the route that she decides to take, I think her future is very, very bright too.
She's a very talented athlete for sure. And that seems like a very small hole to fill. Heavy lunges, you can work on that, right?
And she could have been fine. It was just, she just pushed a little bit under race day. Like, it doesn't even mean it's a hole. Once you're at that failure, you're at that failure. Like, you that can happen on a chest to bar workout, on a ring muscle up workout. It doesn't mean you're bad at ring muscle up. It just means you just overdid it for that workout.
Yep.
So, Michael Park, they're not getting me down. They're not getting me down. But I'm not going to just stand here and be silent about it either. Not getting me down. So we may be, this may be part 2. So one last time. Masters Fitness Collective, my favorite competition in all the land. And if you've been following this show, you know that me and the MFC are like that.
This is
Like that. This is what sucks about this. I love their venue. I love their competition. I love where it is. It is a great place if you love Masters athletes to go hang out with them and watch them compete at the highest level. But they cannot get out of their own freaking way. So I'm going to share my screen. Thank you to Holly Dugan for doing this out onto our story while I was in Indianapolis. That is not what I wanted. Uh-oh, nope. Got to use a different screen share. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So this year at Masters Fitness Collective, it was required for you to use the WeTime app to film your workout and submit them to the MFC. They promoted it as you could sign up for the free trial if you did not want to pay for it and then submit your workouts. What athletes did after the free trial is after they submitted their workouts was canceled so they would not be charged for the WeTime app afterwards. What
Makes
was
sense.
not foreseen is that canceling that subscription meant your videos became unwatchable by anybody. So, as you can see here, your links have expired and cannot be viewed. So the solution is resubscribe to the WeTime app, and then your links become valid again. If you happen to save the video to another location, you can then upload it to another platform and send that link to them. Or if you don't do either of these things, you get an automatic 0 for the workout. And here's what I have a problem with. They come up with these great ideas at Masters Fitness Collective, and then when it doesn't go seamlessly, they put the burden back on the athlete. Like these athletes don't have enough to worry about, especially the Masters athletes working full-time jobs, kids, families, the whole bit. They don't have enough to worry about. Now they've got to resubscribe to something or hope they've freaking saved it and can put it up to another platform, or all the work they did is for naught.
Because the Masters athletes are the best with technology as well.
Exactly. We know those 55 to 59-year-olds are great with all the apps. Every year there's something that MFC does that makes it impossible for people to submit their stuff. And Jamie can tell you, you go to Fort Wayne, it is an awesome venue. It is an awesome place. They have great ideas, but the details get lost so quickly with them.
I love the venue. I think the programming is, I think it's one of the best comps there is. They do need to fix some things, mainly prizes.
Oh yeah, that piece I didn't even say.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts about this. I get where they were coming from with this, and they probably went around it all wrong, saying, hey, get this and do the link system. I personally have WeTime. I've had it for, I think this is my 3rd year of having WeTime. They used WeTime last year. I have paid for WeTime. I have the yearly subscription. I've had it for 2 years. Like, I get they advertised as you can get this free trial, but like, I think if you are at all trying to do this in any fashion where you're trying to be serious and you're trying to make these comps, I'm going to go back to, I say it every time about every single comp. I'm angry that I didn't do MFC, so I didn't know any of this because I have a wedding that weekend. So I couldn't go anywhere. But all these leaderboards need to be YouTube channel public leaderboards, period. All these people that you're saying might not have their video, that is ridiculous if they don't have their video. You should have saved your video and you should be watching it. You should not just have it in the WeTime with the link that you create, and that's all you did with it. You definitely should have saved it, and you definitely should have uploaded it to YouTube. And the fact that MFC didn't make this a public leaderboard is ridiculous, because we need to get back to pushing that on people, so it's a natural thing, so people are able to review other people's workouts, especially masters athletes, especially the 60 plus category, where we don't get to often see how these people are moving. These need to be public. Like, I don't like that they tried to say get the free and we'll deal. Like, yeah, they're scrambling now, but be a serious athlete and save your freaking video.
I should have hit this before Jamie went.
I was just about to say, I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, you should be saving it, watching on your phone, slow motion if you don't feel like you have a certain rep that looks good, and literally watching your video over and over before you submit it. So I do agree with what you're saying there, Jamie.
I heard you can set a world record for an open workout without submitting a video, though.
Yeah, I mean, this all could be fixed if the standard was get your video on YouTube and make it public. Like, if that just became the norm, this shit would go away.
Yeah, and if people don't want comments on their videos, then they just can block the comments that you can have on the video, but it's still public.
You know what way to stop the comments on the video? Have
move better
standards.
Yeah, move better.
Yeah.
Kind of, it stops everything.
Yeah.
Judy Reed says they need better food options and let spectators come and go once they've paid. That was annoying.
So
can you believe that they have this beautiful venue? You're trying to get spectators in there, and the spectators couldn't leave and come back.
You could. You just needed to buy, once again, details, and they didn't do a good job of it. And I hope they send out an email.
A parking pass ahead of time.
Yes, you needed to buy a parking pass ahead of time, and you could go in and out.
But a spectator isn't going to see that on an athlete page.
I mean, I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I feel like I would tell anyone going, like, I bought 2 of them to make sure that they were bought for our group. And I would think, like, if you knew you had people coming to watch you, you would tell them. But they do need better food options.
Well, there's people that, what if you're just a fan of the sport and you want to come?
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. The other thing they need to do is announce whether they're going to have prize money or not.
100%.
Don't just stop giving out prize money and not say a word about it and hope nobody will notice.
I did notice there is a whole lot less big names. Have you looked at the leaderboard?
No, because I don't think I'm going to go this year. I'm going to hit some of the mid-major competitions instead.
Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Who's the 40-year-old who always does it?
Grub?
No, woman.
Anna Tobias.
Yes, she didn't even do it.
And that's like the one comp she did every year.
I know. Like, that's sad if you're losing names like that.
And she won it every year, but she didn't win anything last year.
Right.
When is it this year? Does she have the Olympics?
It would be after the Olympics.
Yeah.
Because she does sailing.
Sailing. Yeah.
She's a multiple time Olympian, right?
Yep. Yeah, we talk to her every year. She's awesome to hang out with. So much fun. But yeah, she does CrossFit to stay in shape for her sailing for the Olympics. And then she does this one comp every year. And then you lose her.
Yeah.
That's a big name. So yeah. So I think that's it for those riffs. I got my blood pressure back down.
Same.
The John Young one really got me this week. And I will say this too. I sent him a direct message on Instagram about this and he did not respond. So that's why he's getting blasted tonight.
He poked the bear.
And he is sure to jump in our comments when we say something about him.
Yeah.
So let's see. All right. So the other thing last week that I came across accidentally was I was watching the spin last Wednesday. They had Jason Hopper on. Then I had James Sprague on the next day, and they said something eerily familiar to each other. And that was that they both were to camp last year. James in Naples, Jason at HWPO. It wasn't right for either of them. They both moved back home to get better balance. Are we getting to a point where training camps are fading away? Now, they both are still with their camp, but they're doing it from home. And they both said they got to see it. Now they could replicate it at home.
Yeah.
So your thoughts?
I think you hear it a lot. I think women say it a lot. It can just become like a straight up competition every single day, and you're wearing yourself down. And I think can be good and bad. Like too much of that is just going to wear you down, but it also probably drives intensity does drive your progression. So like, I think you get a lot of bang for your buck out of that, but I don't know how long-term sustainable it is.
They're still training with high level athletes though. So they still can compare. They're just closer to home, and they probably it's almost like James said in his interview with you, like he has a better support system being at home with his family there and stuff like that. So I think everyone's different. Do you need to go into training camp like for multiple years? Probably not. Like, I think it's good to experience it maybe, and then, have learn from different style of athletes, have different type of people that can chase you or that you can chase in workouts. But I think ultimately you still have to be able to train well on your own to do, I think, well in this sport. But I understand them going back home. Like, it can be mentally draining being in an environment like that every day. I think as long as they're surrounded by good people, that's the fun part about training, is who you're with. And if you're having fun training, that's what's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. James pointed out that he needs to be around people. Like, it's really hard for him to be by himself in a garage doing what he needs to do. Doesn't mean he won't do it, but he needs to have those times where he goes to a gym and he's around other people. And just to clear this up, Craig says James trains with Cole. He said on our podcast, maybe once a week, because Cole really likes to train alone. James likes to train with people. And so like once a week, they kind of get together and Cole helps James out.
I thought he said once a week they do the workouts together, like a similar workout. I think they work out more than once a week. He said he was there almost every day, but they join their workouts once a week. That's what I understood from the interview.
Okay. I didn't fully get that, but okay.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Because Cole was in the hospital for 3 months and only home to train an hour a day for a lot of that. But okay. Jonathan Ortega says moving to a city without your support system takes a lot of mental agility and strength.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't want to see the burnout that we're seeing in some of these teens and girls, like the camps could be contributing to that a little bit.
Yeah, Hattie said that when she trained with Kelly Baker, they couldn't turn it off.
Right.
And that wasn't healthy either.
Right.
That even though it'd be like, hey, we're both hurting today, let's take it easy. 3, 2, 1, go happens, and bam, they're competing again.
Yep.
Which is why I think, being in an affiliate, taking a class WOD here and there, stepping away from your program, I think goes a long way. mentally, just physically. You know, you don't have to even go, you know, you're not going against people that are, you know, your games athlete or your competitors, but you're just having fun with the community. Like, I think it's just an important part of staying more mentally in the game, I guess. I think, who was it? Like, someone did a post about it the other day. Like, when I'm in California, I do a class 1 almost all the time, and it's fun. It's great. When I'm at my affiliate, like, I'll WOD with different people a lot of days versus just always by myself.
So Jonathan clears it up. And Jonathan, if you don't know, did James's his vlog from West Coast Classic. So he was with James that whole weekend. They train in the same space. I think not like same programming. Yeah, I think he was explaining to me that once a week they try to merge their programming together for one day to train together on that one day. I can't imagine training by myself. I can't. When I'm in the garage, there's no intensity.
Have you been going to the affiliate?
I don't have a car. So I'm really stuck. I shouldn't say no intensity, but it's definitely not the same intensity. Right?
But that's where I say, like, you have to learn to be good training on your own. Like, as you have to be able to train with people, but also like to train on your own and push yourself and not be solely dependent on other people goes a long way. Like, sometimes some of the best mental workouts that I have are just like when I'm alone at the gym, and it's like you do the workout and you just feel so accomplished after. And when you are competing, you think back on those moments when you were alone and suffered literally by yourself. So you got to get better, Scott. Here
I think there's those days where like that competitive voice in my head, like is really tough on myself to push. Right. And those are good days where I finish and I'm like, man, I really conquered that day.
Yeah.
But I was much better at that when I was younger than I am today. Just being flat out honest. Like that win, I get that win once or twice a week, where when I was younger, I was 5 days a week, 6 days a week, pushing myself to the limit. So, all right. So the last question, as it gets dark in Canada, is you went from like this bright room to all of a sudden, whoosh.
Yeah, I have my one window just a little bit open.
I accidentally closed Instagram, so hold on 1 second. So the question of the week, Lex is now putting in these questions of the week, which would be, what I want to do is have you guys in the comment section on YouTube give us suggestions for a question of the week. And we'll come up with something and put it out there to everybody and come up with our answers. But what I'm going to do tonight, since Lex put this in the notes, is question of the week, and that is what movement should be removed from all CrossFit competitions? And what prompted this is there was a competition in California where this movement was programmed and called it was called duck walks or described as duck walks. I think it's more of like a waddle.
Yeah. That is not what I was picturing.
They had freestanding handstand push-ups too. It was like a 9-6 or 9-7-5 ring muscle-ups and then freestanding handstand push-ups. And then in between each round was 30 feet or something of the duck walk, the swaddle walk or something like that. Lex sent it to me.
Yeah, so
I mean that one it looks somewhat functional. It's just funny. Like I had broad jumps for distance in a qualifier this year for NorCal Classic. Like I did all the qualifier workouts, and then I had an invite, so I didn't end up having to submit the but it was just like I felt so goofy. It was like 25 foot down and backs of just like broad jump, but you're not doing a full broad jump. You're just like bunny hopping and then coming back. And I was like, what am I doing? But I didn't. Yeah.
What would you remove from competition that you've seen out there?
Well, like Lex and I were talking and like we were saying like something that's like brand new that hasn't been really kind of tested somewhere. It's just hard to implement sometimes, like on the standards. And then some very, very high level skills that when the field is just not there. Like, do they need freestanding handstand push-ups in a local-ish comp? You know, you have them at the games 1 time, 2 times, right? In 2021 and then this past year. Like, I don't know that people are so proficient in that. You know, it can cause injuries for some to kind of come down on their neck, and if they're not really used to that. I would say something like the ring handstand push-ups would be something
exactly what I
like
would say.
I would not like. It's not functional. It's stupid. People are doing kind of like a bench press. Like it's hard to standardize. Something like that. I don't think should be programmed. What else?
My opinion is dips should be off the table. Dips are a great strength accessory, but every time they're put in like a competition, the injury rate goes so high because they're not meant to be done
At full
for high
scope.
rate speed, and they're impossible to judge.
Yeah.
Because you get the bobbing bird, you get all different forms and formations of it, whether it's on parallettes, matador, ring, whatever. It all turns into a cluster.
Like the strict ring muscle up was hard to judge at the regionals in 2016. I think it was 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. Like you looked at like Matt Fraser, he was kind of doing a little bit of like his hip were kind of helping out a little bit. Like a true strict calisthenic ring muscle up is, I feel like not that many people in our sport really do it strict. Like they kind of come back, their feet come back, and then they lean back. They're getting some momentum a little bit within the strict. So that's a tough one. I think that they've tried to implement. I thought the games did a good job last year in the team division, making it from a seated position where you then can lift your feet off the ground and then it's strict-ish from the floor. I think if you're going to do the strict ring muscle-ups, you have to do it from like that seated position where your feet can't come behind you. And if there's a little bit of a hip there, it is what it is. You're still going from a seated position to a supported position. I think that was fine in that way. But if you're from a dead hang position, I think that's a tough one to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're an OG CrossFit fan, like things were wild in like 12 and 13 and 14, where people were getting maimed and hurt on high hurdles that didn't give on. I mean, the Kevin Ogar situation, like it just wasn't safe back then. And I think a lot of that has been removed from the competitions and they've done a good job of that. I just don't want to go back to that direction where people are just doing wild shit at comps.
Well, it just seems like a lot of times comps want to like be different and special and do unique things. And sometimes they overdo it. I think a competition that does unique things, but does it in the right way is something like Crash. Like JR has implemented, unique things, but it's well thought of. People can still do the movements. It's a little twist on certain elements, like just having like the dumbbells with a little rope and for handles, like just like small stuff like that. But most of the competitions I feel like don't have the right, I don't know, just doesn't really work. Doesn't have the right field too, because Crash has like some good people to do these unique things. The games is a place where you can do certain unique things because you have a lot of events, like 12 to 15 events. So you can have a very like niche event that's very different and odd. But these local comps that have, 4 to 5 events most times, and you have these weird stuff, I would try to stay away from brand new things like that or accessory type movements.
The last thing I'm going to say is about this is if you're doing it for a streamed competition, something in your mind has to think about how this is going to look to the spectator. And the one thing I have to give Dave credit for is he seems to think about that more than most. Is he perfect? Nobody's perfect. But like before Dave came back and Boz, and I love Boz, but the seated legless into the handstand push-ups, into the seated legless was a bad look. Sitting on the floor, crawling over to the wall to do your handstand push-up, crawling back to the rope and sitting there, and then doing it. It just had a bad look. The movements separated were fine, but that combination had a bad look with the transitions. And that's not what you want people to see on TV to represent CrossFit.
Yeah, I think Boz has had some really great ideas with some of the movements that he's added, and has really made athletes go back to basics in terms of strict movements and stuff like that. I think that Dave's vision of like what a workout looks like on the layout, he changed the game in terms of programming and having different competitions really think about that in terms of how you're programming, how to make it look for a regular fan. Can you see the race? Can you understand what's going on? So having both of them together, I think, hopefully it comes with great programming this year at the games. And I have no doubt that will come because, you have two good brains working together there. But yeah.
Yeah. And I think the more we get away from machines, the better. Like we showed this year that at semis, you could find a way to get a run in a lot of different situations without having to use the air runner. So that's that. Before we spin out of here, they're talking a lot about this CrossFit documentary that it was announced last year that instead of their traditional CrossFit doc, they were bringing in an outside media company to do a documentary of the CrossFit Games. They said they were doing that so that it would have a quicker release than in years past. It's still not out. Dave brought it up in his weekend review, said that he had seen it, but they were still looking for distribution or were close to distribution or something to that effect. But it's still not out. We're almost to the 2024 games, and the 2023 game doc is still not out.
Apparently it's coming out after the games.
That's what Hiller says.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I'm confused. This is CrossFit hired a media team to come film. I'm so confused. Why? So
they, just like golf does Full Swing, Formula One does whatever that one is on Netflix.
Was it ESPN that did this one?
No, they just broadcast. I think it was an outside media company that was going to didn't even know much about CrossFit. It was supposed to be a different perspective so that it could promote what this was outside of our normal space.
I just feel like when you should release it is like in this dead space between, let's say, semifinals and the games. That's when, you release it there, you get the hype build up for the CrossFit Games, for the, the Masters Division, the adaptive, all of these games, the teenagers coming up, this window right now where it's just kind of that, because, we picked up from March really until now, pretty much every week there was something going on. Now this is when you release it. Get people excited, get more tickets sold. And
my question to you is, are you excited about it? We had the
I don't
Buttery
care.
Bros behind the scenes.
I wasn't there.
We had Savon behind the scenes. We had Craig Ritchie behind the scenes. We had countless other media companies spitting out content from the games. At this point, if you're us that watch this stuff all the time, do you even care at this point?
Well, is this why they aren't? I mean, I guess they did end up sharing Savon's behind the scenes, but like, I don't feel like they did right away. Is this partly why they aren't like sharing content? Because they've paid for this outside content and they're want to get that out and want the views there? And I think that's stupid. You have so many people willing to do it for free. Good content. Like, just do that and share that. Don't pay an outside media company.
So I think what the concept was get these people who are not in our space to do something to attract people from outside the space in. I get what that is like on the surface, but at this point, you're a year after the fact. Like, I think we've lost all that.
I agree.
And if you're inside our space, we have so many alternatives to this. And we've probably all watched some versions of this. Hell, Mayhem did a behind the scenes. Like, there were so many behind the scenes, so many media companies spitting out stuff. If you wanted to know what went on, is there anything left to learn?
I mean, if they go through the lesser known athletes, but that never is the case. It's going to be the same stories of the top athletes. And then you start looking at the interviews. It's like, oh, I heard this already on this part. So it's like nothing's new.
That's my point. Why get upset about it? Are we really missing anything? I
Like
don't.
a giant waste of money to me.
So
unless they put it on Netflix and then it starts, because then that's more. Yeah, if they were to put it like on Netflix or something like that, then it's fine. It doesn't matter if it's later. It's gonna get our current audience that are huge fans of the sports that are gonna watch it anyways because we watch everything. And then if it's on Netflix, it's gonna get new people to watch it and then get more people into the affiliates, ideally. But that's a big if, right? Like whether it's just on YouTube and.
So a lot of people have posted these pictures. I think Hiller, a big one. Someone else made a comment about it on Coffee Pods and Wads, around the whiteboard. CrossFit had 50 media under their umbrella at the games. And they paid this outside media company to come in and produce a documentary. What did they put out? It was actually on Death By. It was Tommy Marquez, because Tommy Marquez said they had 50 contracted media plus this outside documentary company. Nothing came out because they're all worried about their own jobs and their own thing, that they're not working together. And for Tommy to rip on CrossFit Media, that means something's really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of media that needs to be put out there by CrossFit for the affiliates, for the sport, for health, like CrossFit Health. There's a lot of different directions that they could be going, and it just seems like not much, no direction, right?
When you have that many people taking up spots, and you're blocking other media companies from coming in, and you're producing nothing, that's a problem.
Right.
And you have these people that are doing it for free, knocking at the door, and you're not letting them in. It's that is the most disheartening thing. I mean, Jamie, you've been with me for the last 2 years. We scratch, claw, fight for every little bit of access we can get. And I think we have a good relationship with the higher ups. It just doesn't get down to anybody else.
Yeah.
Like that shit that went down at Syndicate Crown and nobody else had to deal with what we had to deal with, doing the same thing we were doing.
If more
It's
people liked and
bullshit.
subscribed to the channel, we're going to get bigger and then you don't have that problem. So like and subscribe.
Yeah.
I'm doing
That's
the work
it.
for you.
That's probably like, subscribe, and hit that notifier.
It's a popularity thing, though. That's what it is.
It is. It 100%
It's
is.
just a popularity, whether you're in the group or not. Same stuff.
I think Jamie is just over it all.
I don't even know.
And like Chris says, share it with your friends. Let them know we're here. But I do have to thank you all that are doing this because we have hit a huge growth spurt. We added 78 subscribers in the last 28 days. And I couldn't thank you guys enough. That share button is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't want to fight and claw. We're done with that. But with that, we have one last thing.
Is
Spin
Judy
polls
clapping her
came out.
feet? What is that?
What's that?
She's clapping.
Oh, I thought they were feet. I was like, I thought she was clapping. Those
That's,
are clapping
that's
feet.
Judy's OnlyFans page. Come check out her feet.
It looked like feet to me. It didn't look like hands.
Checkpoint Productions, I think, is the media company doing the doc.
Never heard of them.
So spin polls came out this week. Jamie and I are voters on that.
Apparently, we're analysts in some people's minds.
But we're picked as that by the same people who forget that we are.
Yeah.
Judy says they're little bound Asian feet.
Oh my gosh.
So they came out this week. We had to make our picks. I will, spoiler alert, Saxon Panchek did not get my number one vote.
Jeez. But did Adler get your number one vote?
Of course he did.
Same.
Because that's where it has been for the last 2 freaking years.
And Emma for your number one female.
I may have switched that up.
I
was just about to say, I was like, are you putting that? For who? Did Jamie convince you enough with her riff last week?
She did not.
Oh, you picked someone else.
I picked Laura number one.
You're crazy.
Laura, Tia, Emma. The Emma news scared me.
I agree. I agree. I
The
moved
Emma
her
news
down.
scared me.
I moved her down to 6th.
So Kenneth, I did not drop Tia. Tia actually stayed the same. My poll before this month was Emma, Tia, Laura. I switched it to Laura, Tia, Emma. I flip-flopped 1 and 3.
Yeah.
I think that when you see what Tia did in the East, it's easy to forget what Laura did in Europe. And Laura would have won a couple of the events against Tia.
Which ones were they?
She would have won the snatch ladder. She would have won the row handstand.
Yeah.
Strength and power output.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you're not beating. Yeah. Laura's.
I think it would have been close on the rope climb.
It wasn't a rope climb workout. It was an echo bike workout. Like you had
Yeah.
enough time. You had enough time. No one, like Laura has one of the best legless rope climbs too, but that was more like the echo bike played a major factor. Even for the females, you have enough time to recover. If it was if it was 10 echo bike, 2 legless rope climbs, 10 box jump overs, it's a completely different workout for the females. Now it becomes a legless rope climb event.
Yep.
No, barely any females struggled to get the rope climbs. And normally they do, right? Like normally the bottom half of the field, like quite a bit are missing. So I'm not surprised that Laura's, right there with Tia on that.
So I think that Laura and Tia are going to go head to head on a lot of things very close. My hope and prayer is that there's no strict deficit handstand push-ups. That's it.
Why?
Because Laura will get smoked. I do want to again. Why did Ariel drop from everyone's radar? She finished third.
If you're Laura Horvath, you want that to show up because you want to beat Tia with that movement in the field. Like you don't want to beat Tia and people will be like, "Oh, there was no handstand push-ups." If you're Laura Horvath, you want to be like, "I won last year and I'm going to win again this year. Bring on whatever event and I will win." And I feel like that's Laura's mentality.
I'm sure that's Laura's mentality. It's just not mine as an analyst.
Yeah.
I want her to have that mental thought process. I, as an analyst, am just hoping to make my pick right. It doesn't go that way.
Do you feel like there's more females right now that can kind of get in between? Like, is the field not as deep this year without, let's say, like Emma Carey, Paige Powers? Who else is missing? Mal O'Brien, or these newer, athletes, and the rise of like Alex Gazan and Ariel and Abigail Domit that had a great show. Like, are those athletes going to start adding up to already those top tier and get some middling? Like, do you think it's just the same 4 or 5 athletes?
I think there is a tier of top tier.
Yeah.
I think Raptis, Magawa, Lowen, Gazan, Lawson, Tia.
Haley. Don't count out Haley.
I have Haley.
Haley is a top 10. Haley's a top 5 athlete almost every year. She is. I know that you say Ariel Lowen because of her podium. Haley Adams has had the best performances as a U.S. female athlete, above, in my opinion, Carrie Pierce, even like pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close to like a Carrie Pierce.
She just doesn't have the podium.
She just doesn't have the podium, but she's that Scott Panchik. Like she's that 4th, 5th, 6th. She's so consistent.
I think she's going to have events where she middles, but I think that the field has gotten stronger in the year she took off.
So has she, probably.
Yeah, I think she has too. So
that front squat workout really made me.
And she's great on machines.
I don't even think it was the front squats. I think it was the dubs.
I think it's the front squats a little bit more. And dubs a little bit, but I think it was a lot of the front squats.
So I do want to address this. Why did Ariel drop from everyone's radar? She finished 3rd last year. She didn't drop from my radar. I put her in that top tier of athletes.
I think she's just such a consistent athlete, so people forget about her. Like she's just always going to be a top 10 and on every event. Like she doesn't have low finishes, so she just kind of floats and always in the mix. So people forget about her because she might not win a bunch of events, although she has won.
Yeah,
events. I think she does have definitely home run potential, but I think she just does it more quietly. But I think she's really relevant. She doesn't have major holes at all.
Yeah,
I think you take Raptis, Magawa, Lowen, and Gazan, and you put them in a bag and shake them up, and they could fall in any order.
Yeah, it depends on the programming.
And Abby Domit has the opportunity to move into that, but I want to see it at the games before I move her into that.
Danielle Brandon in there too, maybe close to those athletes.
I don't have her up there, but you can.
Do you like Emma Tall? I think she's.
I do. But I think they all have bigger holes than the people we mentioned.
We'll see. Time will tell.
Should be a hell of a fight. Yeah, the men is crazy. Beyond crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
That you put on the top 7 or 8 in a bag and you have no idea.
And it's not just the competitiveness of the field, it's the personalities that are starting to come out of the men's side. And like that's making it more exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, the trash talking, the whole bit, it's going to be amazing. And then you have some unknown still coming, like Yella. Like, how much better is he now with the year under his belt? And he's got the same body as Hopper and Dallin and that whole crew, Fikowski. Gosh, it's gonna be crazy. That was so hard to pick. Like, how do I get Saxon on the podium?
You're not letting this go tonight.
I didn't even have Saxon near the top 5. Okay.
Yeah. Agree.
Anyway. Well, we have gone long tonight.
Yeah.
But you guys have said awesome things in the chats. Thank you so much for the kind words. We appreciate it so much. Again, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Let everybody know we're here every Sunday night. The original CrossFit Talk show.
And put a comment on the question of the week.
Yeah. What do you want to be the question of the week next week? And hopefully we can get some more riffs out because I made a nice, cool graphic and everything. With that, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to everybody next time on Sunday Night CrossFit Talk. Bye, guys.